Morning, everybody, and welcome. This is Sunday, August 3rd, I think it is. Okay, yeah, and what on this edition of Bus Stories, I'm going back to where it first started. You see, I walked in at the business office here in my hometown, and uh, my wife wanted to apply for a job, and while she was doing that, the secretary looked and said, "Do you have a CDL?" And I said, "Sure." "Do you have passenger endorsement?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Would you like to drive a school bus?" I said, "No." And by that time, her husband was out and dragged me into his office and told me all the benefits that a pastor would have driving a school bus in a small town. You know what? It was interesting. You see, he also taught the state testing, um, so he had the ability to drive around with me, and he had a route that was open. He says, "You want to give it a try?" And I said, "Sure." And so he told me how to get to the bus barn. We jumped in the old bus 17, long conventional bus. And here in this town, the streets are narrow and tight. All of the buses now are flat nose. They're easier, shorter wheelbase, but 17 wasn't. And we drove around, and he explained to me the railroad stops, which I already knew because I'd driven hazmat with John Deere, and but more importantly, how to stop and pick up a student. The other thing he did was told me where the route was. Now he didn't have time to take me on the route, but he says, "Go ahead and drive it. I'll write it down, and you go and drive it." But here's the way the instructions went: is like now remind you, I'd only been in town for a few weeks. He said, "Well, you go down out here by the airport, go down to the old road, you turn left on it, come back out before you go, uh, make a right to go down there to the Twin Barns, and when you get to the Twin Barns, you're gonna turn left, and you're going to go out on the old road, and then you're going to come to the new road, and then you're going to go down. And now, right before you go over the hill, you're going to need to turn down and do a turnaround back there in that. There's a couple of students back there in that house." And I mean, he just kept rambling on, just like I'm doing now. Then you go on back out there to 20, or, on 20, and then you turn down, go down to 75, hang a right, and go down. And when you get down to the 126, you're going to make a right there and go down. And right there before the curve and the bridge there at Bird Creek, you need to take and turn around, and because you can't cross that bridge. You come back and blah blah blah, and you come back and you uh, go down to Sperry, and then go across that one lane bridge. You know, the one that has a wood planks on it and everything there by the bait shop. And then come back and come back to Highway 11, hang a right, and come back. This time, pass up the Twin Barns and go down. You get the idea. Well, a few things he forgot to tell me. Um, None of the roads were marked with what he told me. The Twin Barns, which seemed to be the make or break part of the bus route, be sure at the Twin Barns on the first time you turn left, don't turn right. You'll come back by the Twin Barns, but don't turn back there. You need to go this way. And the Twin Barns was what I first started going out to look for. And I looked and looked and looked for the Twin Barns. I could not find Twin Barns. Now, when I heard it, my mind said there'd be two barns. They kind of look alike. Well, he forgot that a couple of years before I arrived here, one of the Twin Barns burnt down. So it wasn't really Twin Barns. It was a barn and a pile of rubble. He knew exactly what he was talking about. I didn't. I had to really try to figure it out. It wasn't until the very morning I was to leave at I think on that round I left right at 6:30, and my first stop was like 5 minutes after I left, maybe even quicker. Um, it wasn't until I got there that the dispatcher and mechanic explained to me how to go in a little clearer way. Gave me some mileage distances, stuff to look for. It's amazing. Too many times we assume that people know what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about. We're communicating in our language, in our experiences, in what we are used to. But what about the one hearing? I'm reminded of this almost daily in a classroom because you see, I'm talking to students that have no idea about a phone attached to a wall with a cord. They have no idea about television having two channels, if that. They have no idea what it's like to live the way we did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. They don't even know what it's like. Think about this, to live without internet. They have no clue. When we're communicating, we are to make sure we're doing it on a level that they can understand. God talks about how important communication is. Talks about our prayer life. Talks about our time spent with Him. And He's a God that does not throw so much on us that we can't absorb it and learn from it. He communicates a little at a time on our level. Aren't you happy about that? Aren't you glad that no matter where you are, we have a Heavenly Father that can communicate with us and does not go off onto long theological discussions? He gives us His plan, His purpose, and His direction in clear and precise instructions. And it's validated by that peace within, His presence. Some people call it conscience, some people call it inkling, some people call it, well, I just had a hunch. No. If it's something good and good comes out of it, that's God speaking. Pay attention. Well, God bless you. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.